Today, we're jumping into something really interesting, the world of accidental inventions.
Right, those times when, someone was trying to do one thing and something completely different, often amazing, happened instead.
Exactly. Things born from mistakes, slip-ups, or just noticing something odd.
And for this, we're looking at insights from that podcast, Invented by Accident. The episode, Oops, That Changed the World.
That's the one. With Emily and Josh, she's the science communicator, he's the inventor type.
Good source material. They really dig into these stories.
Yeah, and our goal here isn't just to retell those stories. We want to, pull out the why. Why did these accidents turn into breakthroughs?
What was going on there? Was it just luck or something more?
Right. Thinking about curiosity, observation, all that. So hopefully by the end, everyone listening will have a richer sense of how innovation can happen in these unexpected ways.
Sounds good. Where should we start?
Okay, let's dive right in. How about something probably sitting in most people's kitchens right now? Microwave oven.
Ah, yes, the microwave. It's fascinating because its origins are so far removed from, reheating pizza.
Totally. It starts with Percy Spencer, right? Working on military tech during World War II.
Exactly. He was involved with radar technology, specifically magnetrons. These are basically tubes that generate microwaves, high-frequency radio waves.
So he's deep in this wartime project, very serious stuff. And then pop, or rather melt.
Yeah, the story goes he noticed a chocolate bar in his pocket had melted while he was working near an active magnetron.
It sounds almost silly, but crucially, he didn't just brush it off as annoying.
No, that's the key part. He got curious. Why did it melt? What was happening?
And that curiosity led him to experiment, didn't it?
It did. He famously tried placing some popcorn kernels near the magnetron.
Hmm.
They popped. All over the place, apparently. That was really the first instance of microwave cooking.
Wow. From radar detecting planes to popping corn, that's quite a leap.
It really is. Yeah. It shows how technology developed for, well, one very specific high-stakes purpose can find a completely different life somewhere else.
It makes you think about the unseen potential in things, the microwaves interacting with water molecules that was maybe just a nuisance for radar engineers.
Perhaps. But it became the absolute core principle of the microwave oven. A side effect becomes the main event. It broadens how we think about where innovations come from.
Okay, let's shift gears. From high-tech heating to something decidedly low-tech and arguably more delicious.
Chocolate chip cookies.
You got it. The Toll House cookie story.
Ruth Wakefield. Back in the 1930s at the Toll House Inn, this is a classic case of making do, really.
She ran out of baker's chocolate, the kind that melts smoothly into the batter.
Yes. So, thinking on her feet, she grabbed a Nestlé semi-sweet chocolate bar, chopped it up into bits, and threw them into the dough.
Assuming they just melt and mix in like the baker's chocolate normally would. Makes sense.
It does. But that's not what happened, of course.
Mm-hmm.
The Nestlé chocolate pieces, they softened, sure, but they mostly held their shape.
Creating those distinct chunks of chocolate throughout the cookie.
Exactly. Those gooey pockets that make the chocolate chip cookie what it is.
It's amazing. A simple substitution, probably born out of slight desperation.
Ends up creating one of the most popular cookies in the world. A happy accident in the kitchen.
It does make you wonder about intention versus chance. She intended to make a chocolate cookie, but the iconic form it took was pure accident based on how that specific chocolate behaved.
It suggests that sometimes the best results come when things don't go exactly as planned. You have to be open to that deviation.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to something with, well, a much more profound impact on humanity. Penicillin.
Ah, Fleming. Yes, Alexander Fleming, 1928. This is probably the textbook example of serendipity in science.
He comes back from vacation, checks his lab work.
And finds one of his petri dishes, the ones he was using to grow bacteria, contaminated with mold, a blue-green mold.
Now, for most people, contamination is bad news. You toss the sample, right? Sterilize everything, start over.
Usually, yes. But Fleming looked closer. He observed something crucial.
What was it?
Around the patch of mold, there was a clear zone where the bacteria weren't growing. The mold seemed to be killing them off.
So instead of just seeing contamination, he saw an effect, a biological interaction.
Precisely. His scientific curiosity kicked in. He didn't discard it, he investigated.
Yeah.
He isolated the mold, identified it as Penicillium notatum.
And realized it was producing a substance that could kill harmful bacteria. The first antibiotic.
It's almost hard to grasp the scale of it. This chance observation, this contaminated dish fundamentally changed medicine, saved countless millions of lives.
It really drives home the importance of, well, paying attention and being willing to chase down anomalies. What looks like a failed experiment could hold a secret.
Absolutely. Keen observation and an open mind, they're critical.
Okay, from world-changing medicine to something significantly less serious but still accidentally invented. Silly putty.
Huh? Yes, silly putty. I remember that stuff too. Its story is also tied to World War II, interestingly.
How so?
Well, during the war, there was a need for synthetic rubber. Rubber was crucial for tires, boots, all sorts of things, and supplies were tight.
Right, so researchers were scrambling to find alternatives.
Exactly. And James Wright, an engineer at General Electric, was experimenting with silicone oil and boric acid. He ended up with this goop.
The stuff we know as silly putty.
Pretty much. It had weird properties. It stretched, it bounced higher than rubber, it could copy images from comics, but it wasn't strong or stable enough to be a rubber substitute.
So it failed its original purpose. A dud from an industrial perspective.
Completely. But someone later saw its potential not as rubber, but as entertainment. A toy salesman, Peter Hodgson, marketed it.
And it became this huge fad, a failed material finding success in a totally unrelated market.
It's a great lesson in context, isn't it? Useless for tires, perfect for kids.
It really is.
Yeah.
And sticking with materials with unexpected properties, superglue. That also has a slightly odd accidental backstory. Or maybe backstories.
It does, yes. Doubly accidental, you could say. The core chemical, cyanoacrylate, was first synthesized back in 1942.
Also during the war effort.
Yeah, researchers were trying to create clear plastic for gun sights. They found this stuff stuck to everything. It was incredibly sticky. Annoyingly so for their purposes.
So they noted it was sticky but just shelved it because it wasn't right for gun sights.
Pretty much. Then, years later in the 1950s, different researchers, Harry Coover's team at Eastman Kodak, rediscovered it while working on heat-resistant polymers for jet canopies.
And this time.
This time, they recognized the potential of the stickiness itself. They realized this wasn't a problem, it was a product.
And superglue was born. From a nuisance in wartime labs to a staple in toolboxes and even sometimes in operating rooms for closing wounds.
It shows that sometimes the value isn't in the main thing you're looking for, but in a side property that you might initially overlook. It takes recognition.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. From household items to discoveries that fundamentally changed how we see the world, literally and figuratively. X-rays.
Wilhelm Röntgen, 1895. A huge moment. He wasn't looking for invisible rays at all.
What is he doing?
He was experimenting with cathode rays. These are electron streams in vacuum tubes, standard physics research at the time.
And he noticed something unusual.
Yes, he saw a faint glow coming from a screen coated with a fluorescent chemical. A screen that was across the room from his cathode ray tube.
But the tube was covered, wasn't it, to block visible light?
It was, covered in heavy black cardboard. So whatever was causing this glow, it wasn't visible light. It was something unknown, something penetrating.
Which is why he called them X-rays. X for unknown.
Exactly. And he quickly discovered these mystery rays could pass through soft materials like paper, wood, even flesh, but were blocked by denser things like metal and bone.
And the implications were just immediate.
Absolutely revolutionary. Especially for medicine. Suddenly you could see inside the body without cutting it open, diagnose broken bones, find bullets. It changed everything.
Hard to overstate that one. And speaking of seeing the unseen and cosmic discoveries, the Big Bang evidence, that has an accidental element too, right?
So it certainly does. The discovery of the cosmic microwave background radiation, the CMB. This is basically the echo of the Big Bang.
And it was found by accident by Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson in the 1960s.
That's right. They were radio astronomers working at Bell Labs with this incredibly sensitive microwave antenna. They were trying to detect faint radio waves from space.
But they kept picking up this persistent background noise. A hiss, like static coming from everywhere.
Day and night, no matter where they pointed the antenna. And it really bothered them. They thought it must be interference, some problem with their equipment.
And their prime suspect wasn't exactly cosmic, was it?
Huh. No. Famously, they suspected pigeons nesting in the antenna horn were causing the interference. They even apparently cleaned out the dielectric material, as they politely put it. Bird droppings.
They cleaned out pigeon poop thinking it would fix their static problem.
They did, but the hiss remained. It wasn't pigeons. It wasn't equipment malfunction. It was real.
And it turned out to be the faint afterglow of the creation of the universe, predicted by Big Bang theorists, but never detected before.
Exactly. They'd stumbled upon some of the most profound evidence supporting the Big Bang Theory while trying to get rid of what they thought was noise, possibly caused by birds.
That is just incredible. Talk about mistaking the profound for the mundane.
It really is humbling. It shows how monumental discoveries can hide in plain sight, sometimes disguised as problems or annoyances.
Okay, let's do a quick lightning round. Just rattle off a few more quick examples of these happy accidents.
Sounds fun. Okay, post-it notes.
Right. The super weak glue. A 3M scientist, Spencer Silver, made it by accident. It wasn't strong enough for anything they wanted.
Until another 3M employee, Art Fry, realized it was perfect for making bookmarks that wouldn't fall out of his choir hymnal.
Well,
Weakness became strength.
perfect. What else?
Velcro. George de Mestral, a Swiss engineer, went hiking with his dog.
And came back covered in burrs.
Exactly. His dog, too. Instead of just pulling them off annoyed, he looked at them under a microscope, saw the tiny hooks on the burrs catching on the loops in fabric and fur.
And thought, I can make that. Hook and lip fasteners. Brilliant.
Inspired by nature's own accidental adhesion. Popsicles.
The kid who left his drink out overnight.
Supposedly, yeah. Frank Epperson, 11 years old, mixes soda powder and water with a stick, leaves it out on a cold night.
Comes back to a frozen treat on a stick. Love that one.
Then there's Coca-Cola.
Which started life as medicine.
Yep. John Pemberton, a pharmacist, concocted it as a nerve tonic, a headache cure. It took a slightly different path to becoming a global soda brand.
Just slightly. Okay, one more.
Teflon, the nonstick stuff.
Oh.
Discovered by Roy Plunkett at DuPont. He was trying to make a new, safer refrigerant gas.
And ended up with a weird white powder instead.
Exactly. A cylinder that was supposed to be full of gas seemed empty, but it weighed the same. He cut it open and found this incredibly slippery, non-reactive powder. Teflon.
So looking across all these microwaves, cookies, penicillin, putty glue, x-rays, cosmic noise, Post-its, Velcro, popsicles, Coke, Teflon, it's quite a list.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the common theme seems to be, well, noticing. Noticing the unexpected thing.
And not just noticing, but investigating. Not dismissing the weird result, the mistake, the contamination, the annoying static.
Right. Treating it not as a failure necessarily, but as data, as a clue that maybe points somewhere interesting, somewhere you didn't intend to go.
So wrapping up this deep dive, I think the main takeaway is pretty clear. Mistakes, accidents, unexpected results. They aren't always just roadblocks.
No, they can actually be major drivers of innovation and discovery. History is full of examples.
It really points to the value of, staying curious, keeping your eyes open, being observant.
And having that mental flexibility, that openness to say, huh, that wasn't supposed to happen. I wonder why.
Which leads us to our final thought for everyone listening. Think about your own life, your work, your projects. When things don't go according to plan, when you hit a snag or make a mistake.
Instead of just getting frustrated, maybe pause for a second. Could there be something interesting hidden in that failure? An unexpected opportunity?
What might you discover if you approach those moments less with disappointment and more with, well, a bit of Fleming's or Spencer's curiosity? What unexpected path might open up?
That's definitely something to chew on. The next big oops moment in your life or out in the world might just be waiting for someone to notice its potential.